One of the last surviving Black angels looks back on saving lives.
They were very proud to be nurses, proud of the job that they were doing.
Virginia Allen was one of about 300 Black caregivers who treated tuberculosis patients at Seaview Hospital on Staten Island, New York during the early 1900s. These women, who signed up to treat patients despite the dangerous conditions they faced, were known as the Black Angels.
The patients at Seaview Hospital actually named the nurses their angels. Over time, since most of the nurses who worked there, 98% of them were African American, the term Black Angels just became more frequently used.
In the pre-antibiotic era, tuberculosis claimed 1 in 7 lives in the United States and Europe. The nurses who treated TB at Seaview had been predominantly white in the early 20th century. But by 1929, they began quitting to escape the devastation of the deadly disease. City officials responded by putting out a nationwide call for Black nurses. They enticed them with the opportunity to pursue promising careers and relief from the Jim Crow South.
Very few people wanted to come here to work. And one of the stipulations was that there would be no segregation of staff.
Many of the Black nurses who came to work at the hospital hailed from the South, where legally enforced racial segregation and disenfranchisement of Black people was accompanied by violence and intimidation. This prompted many of them to search for better opportunities in the North. But Black people could not escape racism. There were also racist people and policies in the North. Despite these challenges, the Black Angels continued to show up at Seaview, demonstrating resilience in the face of systemic oppression. Seaview Hospital was a prominent institution for treating the viral disease, spearheading clinical trials for a groundbreaking drug in tuberculosis treatment, and the Black Angels were pivotal in the effort to find a cure. Dr. Edward Robezek, who was responsible for leading the drug trials at Seaview, once reportedly said, "Had it not been for the Black nurses, none of this would have been possible."
I was here when the cure was discovered. Looking back on it, I'm very happy that I was able to help.
Virginia Allen was born in 1931 in Detroit, Michigan. She was 16 when she moved to New York and began working in the children's ward at Seaview. She was part of the second wave of Black nurses who treated patients at the hospital.
My Aunt Edna came to visit us in Detroit, and in talking to her and relating her experiences as a nurse and how satisfying it was as a profession, I became interested in becoming a nurse then.
Virginia's aunt, Edna Sutton Ballard, moved to Staten Island in the early 1930s. She was part of the first wave of Black nurses who treated tuberculosis patients at Seaview. Author Maria Smilios highlights the legacy of these nurses in her new book, The Black Angels, the untold story of the nurses who helped cure tuberculosis. Smilios uses oral history from the nurses and their families, in addition to hundreds of hours of interviews with Robezek's son, the original trial patients, and members of the Staten Island community to capture the stories of these brave women.
It embraces the legacy of all of those nurses who made such a big sacrifice to be here and work with patients who had little hope and were so desperately ill. These were very, very ill people, and even the children. So I am pleased that their legacy is being embraced.